commercial part of what I wanted to let you know. The only thing is tonight I would like to just ask that we treat each other like the neighbors that we are. We're all neighbors. We're all here for one thing. We want to see our education system in our county improve. However, we have to improve it. We want to listen to Mr. Steinburg, what the plans are, and the improvements that have been made, and the direction that we're headed in the state. So I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Meads, who is my deputy, and she will moderate the event tonight, and she'll go over what ground rules we have. Thank you for coming. I appreciate your attention, and I hope you get something out of this. Thank you.
I probably don't need this, but I'm testing it out for Bob. I'm Betsy Meads, and I know many of you here because my two children went through the Elizabeth City Pasquotank Public Schools, and it was probably some of the best years of my life. I know that teachers' workday doesn't end when the bell rings because I've been there for booster club meetings and basketball games when we're doing concessions, and the teachers didn't go home. Lots of times the babysitters brought their children there, and they were running around with all the other kids, and they stayed through the events that night. So it's important that we give you a good working environment, one that you want or joyfully go to in the morning, and one that when you go home at night that you feel like you've accomplished something. I am very blessed to have two sons. One's a stepson who didn't live with me, but I ended up at all the school functions with him, and he's 44. And then my youngest son is 27, and he was a freshman at Pasquotank High School when it opened. And opening a new high school is a whole different ball game. We didn't have a football field, booster club, parents group. It was like starting from 2 feet under. But we had a wonderful principal named Patty Hamler. And in 4 years, the group pulled together. For the boosters clubs, we carried equipment and candy around in our cars because we'd have to take it to Northeastern when we had our football games. So we ended up being a strong family there with strong teachers, and unfortunately some of them have retired now and a couple of them are here. A little bit how I see this tonight. My son, when he was a senior at Pasquotank, his last semester he only took 2 classes, and then he was taking college algebra at COA, and he had decided to go to COA for 1 or 2 years before transferring for mechanical engineering. And he was on the golf team, and on a beautiful day, he had a golf tournament. But COA was giving a placement test that day, and Patty Hamler had told him he was required to take it. So he got up that morning mad, and he said, I'm going to go talk to Miss Hamler, and I'm going to get out of this test. I'm not going to take it. And I thought, well, you do that. And I knew what her answer was going to be. So we got home that night. I said, so how did the test go? Because I knew she made him take it. He says, well, she made me take it, but I was the first one finished. And I thought, well, that's good news. Well, he finished that year very well in his class. He got high grades on college algebra, and about July, he got a letter from COA. And it said, Mr. Meads, based on your placement test, you need to take remedial math. Because he wasn't engaged that day when he took that placement test for math, and he was angry. He has a little bit of his mother and his father in him, because it gets passed down in the genes. And I know that you know some of these kids, and maybe sometimes you feel like your livelihood is based on some of these kids that don't come to school engaged, are mad that they have to take this test. And look what happens. So I'd like to think that we're all engaged tonight, and that we leave our anger at the door and just listen, because I understand your anger. Your livelihood is affected, and your job security and job environment is affected. So what we'd like to try and do, if anything, is dispel some anger and have an open dialogue so that you can question. We may not take open questions tonight, but I have got notebook paper and index cards because I love school time when I can go out and buy school supplies still, and I give it to Sheep Harney. But feel free, if you want paper, we'll pass it out, to ask any questions. Anything, you do not have to put your name on it. If there's something in your school that we can check out locally for you without bringing up your name, we'll do that. The Republican Party was instrumental in sending out surveys at Albemarle Hospital when they were considering Centera and Violet. And we found out that the employees out there had strong feelings against Violet and wanted Centera. And we thought it was important that their message be heard, just like it's important that any problems that you have, your message needs to be heard. We've also got index cards. If you'd like to leave a question or something with Mr. Steinburg, I promise you he'll get back with you. He's been known to have front porch meetings with people, friends and foe. So we want to make this a conduit to things that we can help you do. And I see we've got a school board member tonight. And my age is showing because I know him just as good as I know my husband. Stand up, please.
Mr. Chris.
Thank you. Any other school board members here from any other county? I know we've got a county commissioner for Clemens, Matthew Peeler, Mr. Meggs from Camden. Anybody else? Okay. Thank you. And again, we appreciate your coming out on such a cold night. And I'll introduce you to Mr. Bob Steinberg.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a delight to be here with you this evening, and certainly great to have you all out here on a night when snow was threatening. And I know over in Dare County they had a blizzard, but I think we're safe here. It looks like it's going to miss us, and we can be thankful for that. We've had enough winter up to this point in time, that's for sure. I am here tonight to answer any questions that you might have, and also to be able to address some of your concerns and perhaps share some information with you that you may not be aware of as it relates to education. And specifically this evening I'm going to be talking about K through 12 education in the public schools. We won't be doing a whole lot of community colleges or four-year institutions this evening. And unfortunately, the narrative that has been going on back and forth has not always been pleasant. There is a tremendous amount of misinformation that's floating around out there. Politics, sadly, is a big part of this. People are using this particular issue to try and drive a wedge between the two parties and candidates and so forth, and that's really a very sad thing, because the most important thing to realize, all of us should realize, and I certainly do, is that we are here for the kids first and foremost. We're here to create an environment where children can learn. And we have to recognize that this system has not been working efficiently for quite some time. That's not meant to discredit the public schools. It's just that the system has not been working. I talk with teachers every day. Every single day. And they will tell you when you get them outside of the box, when you can talk to them outside, at home, and so forth, they will share with you what some of the problems are and what some of the concerns are, and the fact that some of these things have not been addressed in a very, very long time. Now, the big issue in the news today and the last couple of days has been teacher pay, and the fact that the North Carolina leaders, the governor and the leaders of the General Assembly, have begun to take on the long and arduous task of coming up with a way to revamp the teacher pay system. The announcements that came out in the last couple of days were related particularly to starting teachers, new teachers who are coming into the system. And what we are going to do is, and this will pass the General Assembly, we will be raising the starting pay 14% over 2 years. Right now, a first-year teacher is at about $30,800. It will go up to $35,000 in 2 years. Now, what that means is that every single teacher is going to be making at least $35,000. I know when you read the story, which in the Daily Advance today, which I thought, Corrine, you did an excellent job on, there were some facts that perhaps maybe I did not share with her that I would like to share with you as it relates to that. We were talking about new teachers as it related to year 1 through year 5. Actually, it's any teacher that is, wherever they are in the spectrum of things, that is on the pay scale is They will be at least at $35,000 by the end of this second year. So that's a very good thing. And what happened several years ago, the teachers, or rather the state legislature, froze what used to be step increases. They had step increases, and the other party was running things at that particular point in time, and because of cash flow and everything else, they decided to take care of, put into a limbo all of the step raises. And that included step raises for teachers. Now, teachers, at that time, there were about 37 or 38 step raises along the process that you could qualify for, 37 or 38, and when they were using them. That really was not a good system to begin with. It was a horrible system because it was stacked in a way that only the teachers who had been there for a very long time were ever going to have any chance or opportunity to make it up to the highest grades. 37 or 38 steps you had to go through before you could get to it. One of the things that we're dealing with, and we've found in looking at all the numbers, is that the loss of teachers that we are experiencing come primarily between year 1 and year 5. That's where we're losing most of these teachers. And certainly you can take a look at the situation that we have inherited. There were no increases at all except for the very small 1.25% raise that was given to teachers when the Republicans first came in 2011. Now, it was our intent to give a pay raise last year as well, 2013. The General Assembly had set aside $487 million to not only give teachers a pay increase, but to also give all of our state employees a pay increase. I was at the NCAE meeting in Pasquotank back, I think it was in June, if I'm not mistaken, and some of the people in this room were at that meeting at that time. And I told them that even at that point, I thought there would be a pay increase. Well, we found out there was a Medicaid overrun of over $500 million, and there were no pay raises for anybody. Medicaid has to be paid. Pay raises do not have to be given, but you cannot deny Medicaid payment. We have to, as a state, we have to do that. So we're losing a lot of teachers in years 1 through 5. Some could conceivably have come in at $29,000 and today be sitting very close to that 5 years later. So a lot of these folks, and one of them is in the room tonight that I know very well, and we've talked about this before, and what I hear from teachers all the time is we really need to address this starting pay issue for teachers. It's a problem. These young people are coming in, they don't have much, and we need to address this. And we have addressed it. This is going to take care of that problem. We are now, with this 14% increase, I believe North Carolina teachers were ranked 44th or 46th or something like that in average pay. Just with this one move alone, we have gone from 46 to 33 in terms of average starting pay for teachers overall. So that's a quantum leap. That's 13 spots with just this one piece of legislation, which is pending. It's not legislation yet, but with this one proposal. And that's just getting started. There are going to be, rather than having to revisit this issue every year or every 2 years, what we are going to do is, what we're going to try to do, is to establish a template for teacher pay raises based on certain criteria. And we are going to, I'm on the Education Committee, we've been working on this and trying to find a way that is going to be equitable. I just want to step back just for a moment in talking about pay raises and share with you that it is our intention that everybody will be getting a pay raise this year. I don't think teachers can expect a 14% pay increase. That's not going to happen. But you will have a pay increase this year, and as will the other state employees. We have to take a look and see what the revenue picture is in late April. And this is the last 6 months of Governor Pat McCrory's budget. And as I shared with you earlier, the last 6 months of Beverly Perdue's budget, we had this Medicaid problem. So with the steps that we've taken, we're hoping to avert that. The economy is improving at such a tremendous level that across the state, unemployment is dropping significantly. New businesses are opening, new startups, expansions. We've gone from 9.4 unemployment to 6.9% in the last 12 months, which is absolutely incredible by any standard of measurement. So as a result of that, more people are on the working side. We're putting more people back to work, and those people are paying taxes, and they're out buying things, and that increases the revenue picture for the state of North Carolina dramatically. And it is that revenue which has allowed us to do what we have done in the initial stages of teacher pay reform. This is the very first step along the road this year, hopefully, to put a system in place that is going to be there for a long time. We're not going to have to come back and revisit this every couple of years, which we have in the past, depending on a step raise or depending on exerting pressure on the General Assembly to try and come up with something that, the NCAE, for example, is going to be pushing. Once this thing is in place, I believe it's going to serve all of our teachers well, and in the process serve everyone well. So we're going to fix it. The system is broken. The pay system was broken. The 39-step system was arduous. You couldn't manage it. Nobody ever realized, very few people ever realized the benefits from those latter steps, ever. So we're not going to have anything that's like that. It's going to be much more simplified. Teachers are going to know exactly what it is, and it's going to allow them to reach higher levels of pay at a very quicker rate. So that is the goal, and that's where we're going. We understand the problem. We inherited the problem, and now we are addressing the problem. And the problem is not going to be fixed overnight, but I think, in light of what has been transpiring so far, and with all of the other good news that's going on in North Carolina economically, that we are going to be able to fix it a lot quicker than even we thought that we could fix it. There are approximately 95,000 teachers in North Carolina. There are 50,000 elementary school teachers. We've got about 28,000 teachers who teach on the high school level. And then there are 17,000 other teachers who could be art or shop or something like that. And then that totals up to about 95,000. And then we have about 26,700 teacher assistants across the state of North Carolina. So these are the people we're speaking to as it relates to this particular issue. Now there's some other issues that I've heard bandied about that folks are concerned about. I've heard the NCAE, they don't want any school choice. They think that one size fits all. And folks, you're the teachers in the classroom. You know gosh darn well one size doesn't fit all. There are some children you just cannot reach. That's a fact, for whatever reason. This does not shine in a negative way on you. It's just the way it is. One size doesn't fit all in education. One size doesn't fit all in anything. The public school system is the mainstay and will be for the foreseeable future, the next 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 decades, is going to be the mainstay to educate children in the state of North Carolina. Now, what we have done in the legislature is we have offered school choice. I had someone in the paper today in the education article referred to charter schools as private schools. Charter schools are not private schools. Charter schools are public schools. Charter schools are alternative schools to the school environment that we're used to, the traditional K through 12 in which I came through, and my wife and my kids and everyone else I know just about. We are all products of the public school system. But to hear all this bandying about charter schools, and we don't want any competition because they don't have to be held to the same bar. Folks, there are 129 charter schools in the state of North Carolina. That's it, 129. There are 30,000 students, however, that are in waiting line to get into the charter school. Now, what does that tell you? There's kids and parents that feel their needs are not being served in that particular public school where they attend. So we recognize that these people are taxpayers also. And their money is going for the public schools. Everybody's money goes for the public school, including mine and yours. But these folks aren't being served well within the public school system. No child, absolutely no child, and boy, if I see any head shaking on this one, I am really going to be disappointed. No child should be left as collateral damage just because they are forced into a system that does not work for them. No child. Every child should have an opportunity at success, and that's what we're doing. We're offering success. Now, let's take a look at a couple of other things. As long as we're talking about charter schools, there was an initiative this year for opportunity scholarships. This is a very, very small initiative, and we're testing it to see how it works. This is allowing kids from the inner city, some kids who are handicapped, some kids who come from families that are financially stressed, and it's just not working for them. They could never go to a private school. So we have provided a means for them without using any public school money whatsoever. None. Zero. No public school allocated money. This money is coming from other sources through the improved economy and so on and so forth. We are offering these kids an opportunity to escape a failing school and to provide them with a $4,500 scholarship. Now, some people say, well, $4,500, that's not going to pay for a private school. Of course not. But private schools also offer scholarships to these kids. So between what we are offering to the taxpayers and what the private school is offering, these kids have an opportunity for an alternative education. You're shaking your head. We're going to keep this positive, okay? No shaking of heads. All right? I don't expect you to agree with me, but I'm just saying you'll have your opportunity. But let's keep this positive. I want you listening, and then I'll listen to you, okay? All right, fair enough. So anyway, this is, we are standing behind these kids. We're giving these kids an opportunity. First and foremost, my goal is to provide children with a first-class education no matter how we do it. I've worked in the public schools. I've been a volunteer for 25 years. I've raised hundreds of thousands of dollars, perhaps maybe even over $1 million for public schools over the years without any cost to them, because I believe in them, I believe in their mission. I'm a book buddy. I volunteer on all sorts of different levels of the public school system. I'm not anti-public schooling. This is where we've got to get over this quantum leap. You need to be able to take a look at where we were 10 years ago. And if you look, and we have this information available online, if you look at the Easley and Purdue years, you take a look at what has happened to teacher pay and teacher benefits over that period of time. This is factual information, folks. This isn't anything everybody's going to make up or spin. These are the facts. You take a look at those years, and here's the trajectory, just like that, on teacher pay. That's where it's been. So now, we're in a position where teachers are upset, they're frustrated, and so on and so forth, and we're not only trying to fix the entire state, which is busted. The pension fund was on the verge of collapse. We had, and certainly those of you who are retired, you want us to secure your pension fund. The health insurance plan was in trouble. You have no idea what we inherited. This isn't just education. This isn't just teacher pay. We inherited a mess, an absolute disaster. And it all has to be fixed. And they're paying me $13,950 a year to put forth a quantum effort of working 16 to 17 hours a day, 7 days a week to do it. So if I didn't care, I wouldn't have been at every single education event that I have been asked to attend. Every single one. Knowing what you're going to hear at some of them, but it doesn't matter. You can keep telling me what you want to tell me, and you can keep telling me about the spin. I'm going to tell you the truth because it's the only thing that I know how to deal with. Truth might not be what you want to hear, but the truth is what you're going to hear. Now, if we were at war, the Republicans were at war with education, we certainly wouldn't have done what we already did. I wouldn't be here tonight telling you that this is part of a major plan to overhaul teacher pay. We'd say, you know something? It's tough. They don't like it. It's just the way it is. We didn't do that, and we're not doing that. But that part of the story is not being told. Now, we're the bad guys because it's politics. It's all about politics. That's all it is. Now, you don't like vouchers, and you don't like incentive pay for teachers, performance pay, but you know who does? President Barack Obama. He's a big advocate for it. You know who else does? Arnie Duncan. There was an article in the Wall Street Journal today. Yes, there was. I'll show it to you, okay? I'll show it to you. These are two people who recognize that we cannot continue to pay teachers in the traditional way. Every single state that is growing and prospering has gone to incentive pay for teachers. Every single one. You want to take a look at the states who are still using the old system? They're all going south. And I don't mean physically, I'm talking about fiscally. They're all in deep, deep trouble. New Jersey, New York, some of these states can't even pay their pension benefits. So we need to get realistic. We need to have a serious argument and discussion about the facts, back and forth. We're here to fix this state, first and foremost. And part of our doing anything as it relates to economic development, education has to be a key component of that. You're not going to get somebody to come into the school district, come into the area, to locate their kids here and their family and their business if the schools stink. It's not going to happen. It's just not. They're not going to do it. I was in business and marketing for years. I'm not moving my business into a place where my kids are going to have to go to schools that aren't good. Now, we are fortunate in this area that we have good schools in some of our counties. We have other schools that aren't quite as good, that need some help. Every teacher that I have talked to on the outside tells me they are keenly aware of teachers who are in place in their schools that shouldn't be there. When the old system, which we had before, tenure was in place, it protected a lot of teachers, a lot of poor teachers. And the teachers tell me this. I don't know this. I'm hearing this from the teachers. This is what they're saying. This isn't my words. It's their words. They know it, but nobody wants to talk about it. We don't want to talk about that. We just want to keep the status quo. Let's keep feeding it, and let's keep hoping for the best, that someday a miracle is going to occur, and suddenly